Hi, today I'm going to show you how to install Linux Mint 19 Cinnamon. It's a new version of Linux, new version of Mint. It's Linux Mint 19 Cinnamon 64-bit version 2. Now I know there are a lot of programs out there that say you can install Linux onto USB, such as Yummy. The only problem with Yummy, I have found that Yummy will actually write protect your USB drives, and it's so hard to get those unwrite protected, and sometimes you can't. So basically you'll end up having to throw it away. Now what I'm going to be using for this is Windows 7, and the program I'm going to be using is Etcher, right there. Okay, I already have it installed. You can download it for Windows 64 and 32-bit. And I have a flash drive here. Plug my flash in. Let Windows pick it up. And if I open this, you'll see nothing's on there. I've already formatted the drive. Etcher, I believe, will also format it for you. But I suggest what you do is you format your drive into FAT32 and not NTSF, and just do a quick format. Now I'm going to open Etcher. Well, if it decides to open, I bet I will have to turn off my antivirus. There we go. I didn't have to open it. I've used this on a different program, different ISO, so it pops up, no such file directory is undefined. That's fine, just hit OK. Now you go here, select image, and I have it right here. I just go to where the ISO is, hit open. It shows your USB drive. I have an 8 gig. Then I hit flash. And this will take a few minutes. And when it's done, I'll come back. Well, here's midnight. Let me show you what's going on. It's been about 10 minutes. The program is validating. I must apologize for the quality of these videos. I'm using one of these little ONN cheap $20 HMI whatever camcorders that take the SD cards that I bought at Walmart for like 20 bucks. Like I say, I really apologize for the quality. Okay, and once that gets done, it's now around 83%, 84%. I'm going to be installing it on this. And you're probably saying to yourself, well, wait a minute. His laptop is probably SATA. Yes, my laptop does take SATA drives, not IDE. But I have this old IDE drive laying around. Okay, that is complete. Alright. And then we just close that out. And okay, close that out. Now you'll see your flash drive doesn't pick up here because, well, Windows isn't going to pick up Linux, unlike Linux does pick up Windows. So I'm going to eject the drive, just take it out. Alright, now back to the hard drive. If you have a SATA drive, you can install it into your laptop or computer if it takes SATA. If you have an IDE drive and want to know if this is going to work for you, what I suggest you do is you go spend $8, give or take, on eBay, Amazon, some other places, and buy one of these little kits. It's a USB SATA IDE cable, and it comes with a power plug and all this other stuff. Now, these little R drivers are as cheap as can be. Sometimes it's hard to get them hooked up to a SATA drive, but I'm not even using the power from this. All I'm going to be using is this part. Midnight, get out of the way. What I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be hooking it up. If you just give me a second. Alright, Midnight, let go. Okay, if you can see, I just have it plugged into the top, and I just have the USB cable. That's all I need to run this little IDE hard drive off of my laptop. Okay, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull my hard drive out, because on my drive now I have Windows XP and Windows XP and Windows 7, and you can see I have a couple other drives. On one of these drives I have 3 different versions of Windows XP that I will be doing a review on that, and hopefully sometime today. But let me turn my computer off, and I'll hook this up and show you exactly how to do this, if this is the way you want to do it, to install Linux on an external drive. If you want to install it on an internal drive, you just leave your hard drive hooked up, and you basically follow the same things I'm going to show you. Alright, I will be back. Okay, here we go. Now, as you can see, here's my hard drive. Nothing in there. Okay. Let me move the hard drive out of the way. Let me hook my laptop back up how it's supposed to go with all the power and everything. I'll be right back here. Okay, first things first. Alright, we have it hooked up. Now I have this drive hooked up here and the USB hooked up. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start my computer. I have a Dell, so I'm going to hit F12, go into boot settings, USB storage device. Now, if you hook it up right, Linux Mint should start automatically loading. And to hook this up, if you use the setup I have, the flash drive has to be on the bottom for it to pick up. Then your hard drive on top. Okay, the cable on top, the flash on the bottom. If you put it up the other way, it'll just say no operating system or something like that. They can't find this or that, whatever. If you see an error when trying to load this, then switch your flash drive to the bottom port. It depends on what port you're using, whether it's going to pick it up or not. I can hook the hard drive up here on this side and hook the flash up on this side, and it'll pick up. But I'm just doing it the same on the same side. Alright, now here you see Linux loaded. Computer, home folder, 40 gigabyte volume, that's the hard drive, and install Linux Mint is here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and install this. So I'm going to turn my Wi-Fi card on. said networks are available. Now I have to put in my Wi-Fi password. Let's get it to load up. And once it loads, I'll start installing Linux. Now remember, this is the brand new Mint 19. Okay. And here's the connections. Alright. Let me type in my password. Connect. Connection established. Okay. Now I'm going to go down here and click Install Linux Mint. Hit Open. Once again, I apologize for the quality of my videos. The little camera I got just stinks. The install comes up. It says welcome. I'm going to hit continue. Of course, in English for me. Now here, install third party. That is a must. You need to check that. Unless you're installing it without internet, you can get away with it without installing this extra stuff as long as your drivers are loaded and Linux loads up like this. But I advise to install third-party software. Then hit connect, continue, not connect, but continue. And you'll see down here the little bars are moving. Now this is going to take a little while to go through, connect, and start downloading all this hardware and software, whatever. Once it downloads, it's going to ask me pretty much where to put it. I will install it on the 40 gig volume that is here, that Linux already picks up. The reason I'm doing this on an external hard drive, if something happens to my Windows or my other hard drive crashes, then I can always use this external hard drive to access that hard drive that's still installed. It's always a good idea to have a backup hard drive with an operating system on it. Like I said, you can actually install Linux next to Windows 7, next to Windows XP, Windows Vista, such and such. From what I understand, it has a harder problem installing next to 8, 8.1, and 10. Because, especially in 10, they have pretty much stopped any external software from being installed, and they pretty much stopped it from installing any other operating systems. I couldn't really tell you. I don't have 10. I don't want 10. Microsoft has downloaded 10 on my computer, my laptop, numerous times, and they have crashed it each time. So, okay. Unmount partitions are in use. Yes. Okay. That way, that volume that was up here now disappears. Erase disk and install Linux Mint. Install now. And then this will write changes to disk. Alright. Continue. Now this old hard drive I have is really old. Now it's going to ask me where I am. Now I'm in the mountain region. I'm in Montana. So I just type in the city I'm in. I hit continue. Now I don't know if you can hear it, but this little hard drive just grinding. It's really old. So here's where it asks for my name. And since I'm going to actually leave this on here, you can see I have it latitude E6500. I hope all this is picking up. Now, I'm just putting in a password, I know. Let's see. Oh, I did something wrong with my passwords because I hit 2 keys. There we go. And continue. Now it's creating and setting up. Linux, especially Mint, Zorin OS, Mint, a lot of these newer Linux distros are very easy to set up. It's almost like setting up Windows. When you used to set up Linux, you had to go in there and make partitions and this and that. And they've pretty much done a workaround that to where it installs basically like a lot of Windows do. So now this is going to take a little while. I'll come back and I'll show you when it's done. Okay, it took, I guess, about 20 minutes to install this. It says installation complete. Now you can continue testing or restart now. I'm going to go ahead and hit restart now. Something else you need to know. Linux Mint comes in 32 and 64-bit. Now here it says please remove installation media, then press enter. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to unhook the flash drive. Now I'm going to leave the hard drive hooked up. Okay. I'm going to hit enter. Then when it restarts, I'm going to hit my F12 key to go into boot order again. Now your key could be different. Now I'm going to hit USB storage device. And you can maybe hear this drive grinding. And since it's running off USB, it does take a couple minutes to start up. Well, not even a couple minutes, probably 15, 20 seconds, 30 seconds, something like that, because it's running through the USB device. But here's Mint starting up. Something else people need to understand is Mint, Ubuntu, Zorin, a lot of these Linux distros are not as hard to use as people think they are. I'm going to demonstrate exactly how easy it is on some of these versions to set up a lot of your software that you need, install some of your games. This version of Mint, along with the last version, you could install the PSP Emulator, a PlayStation 1 emulator. You can install, Super Nintendo, things like that as far as game emulators go. They also have a lot of their own games for Linux. So it's not like, Windows has the market on it. Now, true, there are a lot of Windows games that you probably want to play. Now, here's the login. But if you really want to play Windows games, as long as you have your Windows installed first, like I said, I know this will work up to Windows 7. Anything above that, I'm not sure about. My laptop really won't handle anything above 7. Like 8, 8.1, it has a lot of touchscreen stuff. I do not have a touchscreen. Another reason that you want to go online when you're installing Linux, if you have a Wi-Fi card or a LAN that you can hook up, is so it can download any drivers it may need for your hardware that may not be installed on the Linux ISO. I have found that most things do work on my laptop, on my girlfriend's computer. She also has a Dell. Now, welcome pops up. I do not want to show this dialog, so I'm going to close it, uncheck. Now, you see here, my Wi-Fi is already connected. Now, we're going to go here. Basically, it's like the Windows Start menu where it says menu down here. You click that and all this opens. Okay. This has Firefox installed. Now here's what you're looking for. Just under Firefox. And if you can't find it there, you can browse through right here, administration, go to software manager, but like I say, they do have a shortcut right here, software manager. And what it's doing is it's going online to like Ubuntu, wherever Mint gets all their stuff from. Now there's a whole list of things that come up from down here: accessories, fonts, games, internet, okay, sound and video. All these, everything here can be installed. Let's click internet. I'm gonna put the Chromium browser on. It already has Firefox installed. Just click on that, click on install. Now this is actually installing it to this hard drive. Okay, so when I unhook this, everything I put on here, and Linux will always ask you for a password 99% of the time, and it's the same password you put in. It does not just install things. Like Windows will just install things just for whatever reason. Linux doesn't do that. It always asks you for a password, or for certain programs that may change the operating system, it'll ask you for a password. Okay, and that's installing. Now sometimes installing features can be a little bit slow with Linux because they only have so many servers, and if a lot of people are using them, it may take a little while to install something, or it may just hum. I mean, it may go really quick. So people saying it's hard to install things on Linux really hasn't used Linux for a long time, or they've never used it. Because I mean, how much easier can this be than just clicking a button and picking what you want? And see, it says launch or remove. I'm just gonna go to the back arrow over here and go back to the list. They have BitTorrent stuff and stuff like that. Now I'm gonna go back again to the main list, a little back arrow, and we're gonna go for games. There's a whole list of games. You can choose by all, board games, first person, real-time strategy, turn-based, emulators. Alright, some emulators are not actually on the list. Play on Linux is a front end for Wine, unless you actually want to install Wine, which helps you run Windows programs and some Windows games. I wouldn't even install Play on Linux. It's kind of confusing. Some things you actually have to look for, if you know the name of it. And if it doesn't come up, what you have to do is go here and see if it'll pick it up. Sometimes it will, sometimes it won't. See, I typed in SSPP, which is the PlayStation Portable Emulator. Now I'm going to click on that, because certain things just don't show up on their list. If you know Linux has it, you can actually see right here, install. It has to add software. I hit continue. Like I say, sometimes it's not on their list, but if you know Linux has it, then you can just type it in the software manager, and generally it'll come up. The PSP Emulator, this is the exact same emulator that they use on Windows. It has the exact same features. It does the exact same thing. It has controller support. And a lot of these little PSP games, I mean, they're just really cool. They rival the PS1. They rival Xbox. You know, the PSP was short-lived, but they have massive amounts of games. And there are ISO files all over the place for this. And like I say, this is taking a little while. My connection is not the best right now, or their servers are really busy. I can go into settings, which actually I should have done, and change it to local instead of like everywhere. And it'll let you pick the server you want to download from, but that's another time. Like I said, it's real easy to install stuff on Linux. I'm going to minimize this. I'm going to leave it running. And you can hear my little hard drive just grind. I mean, it's an ancient 40 gig hard drive. If you go to menu again, alright, there's a list: accessories, graphics, internet. Alright, I just installed Chromium, and it's right here. Firefox is here. They have all kinds of stuff you can install. Here's Office. If you like Microsoft Office, LibreOffice is basically the same thing, and this is free. They have a whole lot of stuff under Office. SoundAVideo, they have media players. You know, you can't install like Windows Media Player, but Linux has its own versions. Also, SMPlayer is an excellent player for videos, and Linux does carry that. See, it's still installing the PSP Emulator. Then again, it's 586.7 megabytes to download, and it requires 1.9 gigs of disk space. So, you know, almost 600 megs to download. I'd say it's going pretty quick. Let's see what else. Okay, your home folder is right here. I generally don't do all this with it downloading stuff and installing stuff, but your home folder right there on the desktop shows desktop documents, downloads, music, videos, pictures, public, templates. Everything you need is right here in one folder. Alright, let's click back here, and that's almost done. So, if you really want to give Linux Mint a try, this is the brand new Mint 19. Okay, Cinnamon. I prefer the Cinnamon desktop. To me, it just runs smoother. It just looks better. You can change the background. You can change a lot of stuff on Mint. If you really want to give it a try and don't want to mess with your hard drive, just to make sure it works, it's a good idea to hook it up to an external drive if you have one. My setup, this little R drive, will work with SATA drives too. It's just so much stuff hooks up. You have another two cables to hook up or something like that to this, and it's a pain. Okay, that's installed. This will also pick up your game controller most of the time. Alright, let's close this. Now, let's see. Let's go to games. See, I don't have hardly any games on here now. Basically, just the emulator. But, I mean, like I said, if you go to games, there are massive amounts of games you can install. There's, like I said, there's a whole list here. And you can even install Steam on Linux. Steam, most of their games are pay. They do have some that are free. Linux has some cool games like this. Neverball, it's a really cool game. You can install for free. I like this one. It's kind of like the old Light Cyclotron game. They have like Mario clones, old Burger Time clone, you know, just all kinds of games. They have a couple that are really popular on Linux. Let's see. Super Kart. Basically, this is a Mario Kart clone. Okay. And let's see. Super Tux. And basically, this is like Mario Brothers. So, they have a whole lot of stuff that you can try on here. As far as emulators, DOSBox emulator, Sony PlayStation emulator, Nintendo DS emulator, Atari, Mamie. Alright, the GameCube emulator. It's a decent emulator. The Dolphin emulator is. Nestopia for Nintendo. You know, they have a Super Nintendo emulator here somewhere. It's just, I'm just skipping all this stuff. And racing games, board games, first person shooter. They have like Open Arena. As you can tell, it's like a shooter game. So yeah, Linux has a lot to offer. If you have Windows 7, you have XP, and you want to give it a try, it will install next to your operating system without a hassle. Let's see. Alright, here's SMPlayer. It's a good player. It's a front end for MPlayer and MPV player. And like I say, it doesn't install a lot without asking for your permission. So it does help a whole lot with that. Now like I say, all this is running off this one little external hard drive. The new version of Linux has like a clone set up, more or less, to where you can clone your hard drive. So if something happens, you can like back it up and restore it. I haven't used that, but because you know, you can put it on a different drive, or you know, try to compress it down on the drive you're at, which takes up more room. Alright, Gparted. This is a Partition Manager. It's a really good one. It's a little confusing to use sometimes, but once you get the hang of it, it's pretty easy. I found that this will partition stuff that even Windows won't do sometimes. Let's see, SoundAVideo. They have CD players, audio players. This one, it kind of reminds me of the old Winamp. And let's install that. Well, like I say, all this will be on my hard drive. So I apologize, this video is getting massively long. But I just wanted you to see that using Linux now, a lot of Linux versions are very easy to use. They're very easy to set up. They have a lot of different things you can put on there. Here's OpenShot, where you can create videos and movies. MPlayer is a movie player. And I'm going to install that because it actually supports a lot of formats on MPlayer. And see how fast some of this is installing. The games generally take a little bit longer than some of the programs. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to exit this. I'm going to turn off my Wi-Fi. And then I'm going to shut it down. Just hit the menu button. And right there at the bottom, you'll see a red, and it says quit right here. And then this will pop up, and I want to shut down. Well, there you go. That's how you install Linux on an external drive as a backup operating system. Once this shuts down, I'll show you. I'll unhook this, turn on my laptop, and you can tell there is still no hard drive in here. I have to put my hard drive back. See that? Alright. There you go. Everybody have a good day.